Spider-Man became iconic by making weakness the one superpower every hero tries to hide. Before Spider-Man, superheroes often felt larger than life, almost impossible to hurt. Then a teenager appeared who could climb walls but still failed exams, missed dates, and feared rejection. In 1962, that contradiction changed comic books forever. Spider-Man was powerful enough to challenge monsters, yet ordinary enough to embarrass himself in public. That made his victories feel earned instead of guaranteed. But his greatest innovation was not web swinging, super strength, or a memorable costume. It was the dangerous idea that responsibility could matter more than confidence. To understand why he lasted, we have to begin with the weakness hiding underneath the mask. That hidden flaw begins with the person beneath Spider-Man's abilities. The problem was Peter Parker himself. He was bullied, underfunded, socially awkward, and constantly outmatched by problems that money could solve. His powers did not erase those problems. They magnified his choices. When Peter first gained his abilities, he used them for attention and profit. He let a fleeing thief escape because stopping him was not his responsibility. That decision seemed small, almost harmless, until the same criminal destroyed the life Peter valued most. Suddenly, the mask was no longer a fantasy. It became a permanent reminder that avoiding responsibility has a price. But the story still had one deeper trap waiting. Peter could have become a darker hero after that loss. Instead, he became a more complicated one. He still joked during battles, partly to distract enemies and partly to hide fear. He still made mistakes because guilt does not instantly create wisdom. Every new villain attacked a different pressure point: money, family, identity, or control. That pattern kept the danger personal even when the threats became enormous. Spider-Man was never simply asking, can he win? The better question was, what will winning cost him this time? That question explains why his greatest enemy was often not across the street, but inside his own head. You cannot miss the next turn. It reveals what makes Spider-Man's struggle unforgettable. That shift from victory to consequence changes what heroism means for Peter. That is the core insight. Spider-Man makes heroism feel like a daily decision, not a permanent identity. Peter is not brave because fear disappears. He is brave because fear keeps showing up and he keeps moving anyway. His private life creates friction with his heroic duty, so every rescue threatens something else. A missed paycheck can hurt his family. A public victory can expose his secret. A perfect choice is rarely available, which makes the imperfect choice matter. This is why audiences recognize him so quickly. They may never fight a supervillain, but they understand being needed when they feel completely unready. And that recognition leads to the moment that defines him. The mask creates another powerful contradiction. It hides Peter's face, but reveals his character. Behind it, he can joke, panic, improvise, and admit uncertainty without losing the audience's trust. The costume also turns vulnerability into visual language. A torn suit shows sacrifice. A shaking hand shows exhaustion. A body hanging upside down can look playful one second and completely defeated the next. Spider-Man works because the symbol never replaces the person underneath. It constantly asks whether power changes someone or simply exposes who they already were. The answer arrives when Peter must choose between the life he wants and the people who need him. The emotional peak comes when Peter understands that responsibility is not punishment. It is proof that his life connects to other lives. He cannot save everyone, and the stories never pretend otherwise. People still get hurt, relationships still collapse, and victories still leave scars. Yet Peter returns to the mask because someone nearby may be facing the same fear alone. That is the secret behind his endurance. Spider-Man is not inspiring because he always rises above pain. He is inspiring because pain becomes part of the reason he rises. The hero is not the person without weakness. The hero is the person who refuses to let weakness decide everything. That refusal, repeated under pressure, is what turns Peter's flaws into strength. Once you see that pattern, Spider-Man's appeal becomes easier to understand. His powers are the fantasy, but his routine is the reality. He struggles with time, money, grief, family expectations, and the fear of disappointing people. The solution is not to eliminate those pressures. It is to give them meaning through action. In practical terms, Spider-Man turns failure into feedback, guilt into responsibility, and fear into into motion. That formula explains why different generations can rebuild him without losing the character. The setting changes, the villains change, and the technology changes. But the central question stays exactly the same. What will you do when helping costs you something? That is why Spider-Man survives every era. He is flexible enough for new worlds, but specific enough to remain emotionally recognizable. The web pattern suggests connection, yet Peter's story is built around isolation. The jokes create energy, yet the heart of the character is sacrifice. The powers look impossible, yet the decisions feel painfully familiar. When people say Spider-Man is relatable, they do not mean his life is ordinary. They mean his emotional math is understandable. He loses, doubts himself, delays action, and still chooses to show up. In a culture obsessed with flawless icons, that may be his most radical power, making imperfection feel worthy of courage. But that courage carries a final implication most heroic stories leave unexplored. That implication leads directly to the choice behind every version of Spider-Man. Spider-Man matters because he never lets the mask become an excuse. Underneath the spectacle is a simple promise. Your fear can be real, your mistakes can matter, and your next choice can still count. That promise turns a fictional teenager into a mirror for millions